All right. Welcome, everyone. It is Wednesday. It is time for office hours here on the Academy. Wow. It's been a week already. Hey, Andrew, how are things?
Pretty good. I would agree. It's definitely been a week. I can't believe it's Wednesday again already.
Tell you.
But things are going well. Gearing up for our big week next week. It's almost kind of feels like the Super Bowl for us these days, but a week
It,
long.
it's indeed. MMS is around the corner, favorite conference of ours. So, absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
And we'll be doing office hours live from the conference again.
Yes, I'm so excited for that. We had so much fun in October.
All right. So, what's up? What else is new?
Well, I got a couple of things that I have come across. If you don't mind sharing my screen,
Do not mind.
there we go. So first things first, I already got it on my screen, thankfully. 2503 version of ConfigMgr was released to the slow ring last week, I believe it was.
I can't remember if we mentioned that last week or not, but worth mentioning again if that's the case.
Absolutely. And I did notice too, even though there's the what's new version of the page, there's actually another page to go to the summary of changes in this version. So keep that in mind when you check this out. But a bunch of different fixes here. Nothing in particular I can think of that I was specifically looking out for. Was there anything that you or any customers that you're aware of, Johan, were excited for any of these bug fixes?
There was some cloud management gateway fixes. I know some of the customers I work with were happy for, especially related to peering of content. So
Okay.
that's good news. But other than that, I just saw a tweet from, it must have been a couple of weeks back now, from the ConfigMgr team's Twitter account. They mentioned there was 350 bug fixes in this
Wow.
release. So probably worth upgrading to.
We like bug fixes.
We like bug fixes. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, it wasn't only ConfigMgr that got an update last week. Intune's latest service release also came out, 2504.
Mm-hmm.
Plenty of new updates here, but I just wanted to call out a few highlights. Johan, I don't know if you noticed this one or not, but delivery optimization settings are now in the settings catalog. So that's exciting.
Well, no, it's been there for a long time.
I wonder what they
This must be a
changed.
new admin template or something.
New template uses settings format as found in the settings catalog. Yeah, must be.
Yeah.
All right, so some changes there.
Yeah, so we just have to go to the settings catalog because the template was not updated with all the settings that were in the settings catalog. So my
There
thinking
we go.
is that's probably it.
Makes sense. So there's that change on delivery optimization. We also have, where'd it go here? New settings in the Windows security baseline.
Mm-hmm.
So also take note, you may not see these right away. So it may be another week or so before you see these in your tenant, but there are quite a few new settings here. I also did come across a tweet from James Robinson, who maintains the OpenIntuneBaseline, that this should be updated soon as well. I don't think I saw an exact date on that, but he is aware of it. And so we should see this updated.
All right.
Also came across this article, something I'm going to keep in my back pocket here as we get through the next several months, from Mr. T-Bone, who always has, I love just saying his name, quite honestly, Mr. T-Bone. Has a great blog post here on if you're upgrading some of your domain controllers to Windows Server 2025, you may run into some trust relationship issues. If you have managed any domain joined machines for more than a couple of months, you've probably run into trust relationship issues at some point. But when we're seeing issues, widespread across the domain or something like that. Important to get those resolved pretty quickly. So he's got a great blog post here on some of the things to help identify what the cause is and how to fix them. So great stuff here. And then the last thing that I came across, a bit minor, but I thought it was cool. A UI change on, let's see. Here we go. The Entra Admin Center. The homepage here on the Entra Admin Center just looks a lot better. A lot of high-level, at-a-glance information, tenant information, role assignments, secure score. Don't judge me. This is a lab tenant. But I actually really like this. I think it's a little bit more useful than what the homepage looked like previously. So, yeah, just a small update that I came across this week as well. So that's what I've got this week, sir.
Well, Autopatch. Let me steal my screen. Steal my screen. Steal the screen. It's been a long day, sir. So let's click the right button, and we will make magic happen. This was mentioned in the chat also, by the way. Thank you for pointing it out. But Autopatch is now available in the Business Premium, as well as for education and E3 and API licenses.
Yay.
Not sure exactly when this was rolled out, but I didn't learn about it until about today. So,
yeah, it was. I think that happened one of the office hours a few weeks ago when you happened to be out.
That would explain it.
But it was a very recent update, and it's an important one. I mean, this is something that, heck, you've heard me complain about this many times over the last 2 years. So very exciting.
Yeah. And there was also a tweet earlier today basically highlighting the fact that Microsoft acknowledged that if you happen to patch Windows 11 22 H2 or 23 H2 with the April patch, and you wanted to do an update to 24 H2 using WSUS, forget about that. That's not going to work. So hopefully they will fix that to the May update, because only the other option you have right now is to basically roll back that update, run the update at 24 H2 and patch it again to April. So a bit of a not so fun discovery there, but nonetheless. And then we have Mr. John Marcum, I have known for probably a lifetime now, but we've been friends for the past 20-some years. He released a Shiny script that can do feature updates from Intune on its own. So if you don't want to use the feature update policies, but instead you just want to run a script that drives the entire upgrade together with a couple of common fixes, partitionings and application blockers, etc., this could be a good one. It's just a small script, 1,600 lines. First time I saw the script, it was 3 lines. So it has grown significantly. And for those of you that doesn't know, Johan is one of the I like to say founders or brains behind PowerStacks, a company that focus on providing reports and dashboards and whatnot for Intune ConfigMgr, also developed for Endpoint. So if you're interested in that kind of visualization, I would highly recommend to check out their solution as well. But what I do like is that they have a big heart for their community, and this kind of proves it. So there we are. And it was funny because we had a discussion on Twitter earlier, or X earlier today, where we talked about the script, and Kite over from Europe chimed in like, do you really need to do scripts when you do feature updates on Intune? I was like, yes, absolutely, yes, you have to. And it doesn't really matter if you use feature update policies or other solutions to drive those feature updates. But in order to get a little bit extra control and error handling and driver support and other things, you need to do a little bit of customizations instead of just blindly apply those policies and hope for the best. So that's my little rant on that one.
Great advice.
All right. Now, other than that, I didn't have any news on my mind. Been hammering on an image factory solution for ConfigMgr, but I need to figure out a good solution for actually running sysprep in the first place first. So, been working on that too.
All right.
Yeah.
Exciting stuff.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. All right. Do we have any comments or questions coming in?
We do. Before I start with the questions, I just wanted to shout out. We've got a couple of hellos here, so I wanted to make sure we said hello back. And I see Matt's going to be joining next week, which is really exciting to be able to meet Matt in person. I'm looking forward to that. And Gary, pretty excited to be that we'll be running this live next week as well. So we are too, Gary.
Yeah, and I think it's worth mentioning that I believe we still have the date change locked in. Let me go over to the sessions here. Hours can only be one.
Yep. Yeah, so we're on Wednesday, but we'll be at 5 instead.
Yes. See if you show up at 4:30. Bring some extra coffee because if you're going to start a little bit later, we will run it live from the conference as long as they allow us to be in that conference room. And we will accept questions as usual from both the live audience in Minneapolis and also the folks, the usual suspects out there in the world. So that'll be fun.
Absolutely. Can't wait. All right. So, yes, questions. We do have questions. So the first one we have here is from Matthew. During the initial setup of Office 365 Client Installation Wizard, I'm getting a download of Office 365 file failed, error 5. I can install software with client push. Not sure what log files to check. I was just looking at this recently, and I cannot remember off the top of my head the default Office installer directory. That stores the logs. I think it's an app data. This, you know how you always tell me not to get old, Johan? Well, this is it. This is happening live. Me not remembering a directory off the top of my head. Let's see here. Office. No, it is just, it's temp. It's not an app data. So the Windows directory temp or just the temp environment variable. That would be the first place that I look for any Office click to run logging as the default. And sometimes that will give you some additional information.
Yeah, I did find that article. I'm assuming it was this one you were referring to.
Yes, sir. That's it.
Yeah, there we are. And also this, it is obviously in a different location.
Yep. Also, not my idea of fun. I don't have to troubleshoot Office installs often, but when I do, I find it exceedingly challenging. This is usually the first place I look, though, and I hope that there's crossing my fingers that there's going to be a little bit more detail in that log than I'm getting in some of the other places. So, Matthew, I'd probably start with that first. So I do see, it looks like there's a follow-up here. Shares I see on the E drive are basically some of the ConfigMgr shares. So I wonder if this was a ConfigMgr deployment specifically.
It kind of looks like it based on the share names that were revealed there. So
Yeah, right. All right.
we don't have a content lib without a config managed environment.
So I did find. Let's see, is this it? Oh, never mind. Sorry. Thought I might have found something, but no.
All right, so we're going to stick with the troubleshooting guide we have on the screen here for the moment.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Got a few other hellos coming in. I see a question from LinkedIn, Christopher Anderson. Hello, Christopher. Good to hear from you. It's been a while. I used to work with him at TrueSec many moons ago, probably in the early, almost 20 years ago.
Wow.
It's been a while. Anyhow, his
Awesome.
question is regarding what about deploying Windows Server 2025 bare metal deployment in basically an air-gapped environment where we don't have any cloud imaging solution available, what to use. MDT will happily deploy Windows Server 2025 still, even though it's not supported. If you need a supported solution to deploy Server 2025, ConfigMgr would be that one. ConfigMgr works beautifully and without internet access at all. So both of those platforms will work. But if you want something that actually is tested and supported for 2025, ConfigMgr would be it.
All right. Amir's got a question here, and I believe you actually answered this question for somebody else yesterday, Johan. So in Amir's scenario, from time to time, we come across a pre-provisioned and resealed Autopilot device that boots to the default user 0 desktop instead of the Autopilot user login screen. If we switch users and sign in with a known local admin account, picks up where it should have started by asking for the user's Autopilot credentials. Any idea what might be causing the Autopilot flow to break and show this default user 0 login prompt?
Well, in general, because you're doing that, something that you probably shouldn't. So let me explain. If I log into my tenant here, it's coming. And pick any of my devices that I have probably installed at some point. This one looks good. It's compliant and all, so green is good, right? An Autopilot reset it's a good idea by name and like idea behind it. Terrible implementation. So in general, I do not recommend using that one. If you need to reset the device, a wipe is a better option. So I'm going to put a green check mark into this one. And if you want a little bit of background to why that is a better option, we have our friend Rudy Ohms over at Patch My PC these days. He put together a beautiful explanation down to the API level on the differences in between an Autopilot reset versus wipe. See if I can. Here we go. Basically, if I have a device that I'm using and I'm about to give it to Andrew, and I do an Autopilot reset, It's going to go quite quickly to do that reset, but it's not a very good wipe. So Android is quite likely to find stuff that I've been working on that device when he gets it. Now, in Andrew's case, it's not that big of a deal. We know each other quite well by now. But normally, when you hand a device over to someone else, you usually don't want your stuff to be accessible for the other person. So, long story short, read up on this post. And after you do that, you're probably going to realize that a wipe is a better option. Otherwise, if you absolutely must go through with that option, Autopilot reset, and you have that bug in default user, I do not know a fix. File a support case, spend a couple of months on it, and see what that takes you.
Fair enough.
And let us know.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So Benny is in an environment where they are co-managed, ConfigMgr and Intune. Some devices have been deleted by accident from Intune, but are still active in ConfigMgr. How do we get them back into Intune as co-managed, and should it be automatic?
Might be depending on how they ended up in a co-managed state. We have some customers who's leveraging the ConfigMgr license to do the enrollment of the Intune device in Intune. So basically, ConfigMgr doing that in combination with the policy setting there, but basically device enrollment done by ConfigMgr. There is the other case when you just have a regular hybrid join scenario and you use Entra Connect, the sync of devices, and then, again, a policy to upload them. I think as long as the Entra object is there, it's not going to re-enroll it automatically into Intune. There are a few scheduled tasks on the device that runs that try to fix things, but not if someone deleted the object, I think. If you have access to a test device, I would probably start by also deleting the Entra object for that test device and see if re-enrolling it to Entra or joining it to Entra will force the enrollment in Intune to kick in automatically too. But I can't say I have tried. If anyone happen to know, please let us know. But I'm not sure it will be repairing itself for all of those scenarios. Do you happen to know, sir?
I do not, unfortunately. And I did see Benny did have a follow-up. They ended up in co-management using ConfigMgr. So, okay, and Jeff just followed up here in the chat. Had the same problem, and that was the fix. Remove it from Entra.
Hey, I was almost right.
Yes, that happens often. Excellent.
All right. Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate it. You made my day
Yeah.
for sure. So good stuff.
Awesome. And I apologize. I was a little distracted too, just because I was intrigued by Amir followed up with his question that these devices that he was seeing default user 0, this was happening on new OEM devices out of the box or after wiped from Intune. So I did come across, and Amir, you may have found this yourself anyways, but I did come across a blog post from Paul Winstanley from a couple of years back, and specifically was about default user 0 when using Autopilot pre-provisioning. If you want to pop over to my screen for a moment, Johan.
Done.
Thank you, sir. In Paul's case, there was some security hardening in place. And so, Mir, if I recall some of your scenarios in the past, you may have security hardening in place during this process. And there is actually a CIS setting that was causing the issue for Paul. So maybe that will help. I will make sure to post this link this evening.
Awesome. Speaking of CS benchmark, they just released version 4 of their benchmark guidance
Oh,
for
yeah.
Intune a couple of days ago, 25th.
Yeah, that's right. Awesome. All right. So let's see. Let me find my spot here again in our questions. I see comment from Gary from earlier. Gary's favorite way to upgrade is still a task sequence. Yeah.
I'm not going to argue with him there. I happen to like it too. I'm very biased in the matter, but
Exactly. I agree. All right. So Dan is monitoring the status of application deployments in ConfigMgr and seeing successes reported under the error tab. Any advice on how to troubleshoot? Upgrading to 2409 seemed to make it worse.
I have not seen any issues on that part getting worse in 2409.
No. That's like that old meme dialog box. Task failed successfully.
Yeah. No, nothing that comes to mind.
No, I can't recall seeing that. I wonder if so in this scenario, Dan, does it look like it might just be a UI bug, or that application deployment's actually successful, or unsuccessful rather? Because that might make the difference for how to troubleshoot from there. If it's just a UI bug, I'm not sure, but
So just so I get the question right, let me borrow the screen here again. I'm assuming it is related to the monitoring tab here for deployments, where you have the deployment status for something. So basically, I guess the question is that there are success ones showing up in errors, or the other way around, errors showing up in success. I didn't quite get it. Seeing success reporting under the error tab. No, I cannot say I've seen that happening.
so yeah, Dan, if you're oh, there we go. Deployments are successful and has exit code 0, but shows in the error tab. No, I definitely have not seen that, but I could imagine that is a frustrating bug for sure.
Yeah, no, not something I've seen. No.
That feels like one of those unfortunate. Maybe open a case for that one if you have the ability to do so.
Yeah, or at the very least, just send in a frown from
Yeah.
the console. So
All right. So Matt has some vulnerabilities in Windows apps like raw image extension has tried using Intune, and it's not available to download as an app to create a Win32 app. So these are, I think these are just your Microsoft Store apps. Why are these apps not getting patched by monthly updates?
The raw image extension, I think, is just a regular store update.
I think so as well. I've seen so many things getting in the way of them before, though. I've seen ad blockers, like DNS ad blockers, Pi-hole, things like that, Unify Networks blocking them. I've seen cache on a device block them, or rather prevent updates from happening. That's not a great answer, but that's sort of in my experience. I have seen some weird things like that with the store apps.
There used to be an offline install of it. Saying like one of our customers had to patch it without using the store at all, or at least not having access to the online store. No, nothing that triggers my memory out of the top of my head. Because they were patched a long time ago.
Yeah.
No, nothing that comes to mind. Not on that one.
Oh, here either, unfortunately. Sorry, Matt. Matthew had a follow up from the O365 question earlier. This is for, so this is when we were talking about installing Office apps. This was actually for setting up the O365 install in the Config Manager console. So I'm thinking in that scenario, Matthew probably didn't get, not even getting far enough to get the content down to start the install on the client. So I think if that's the error 5 on like packages, that's often an access denied on the content directory. So I'm not sure if that's the part of the process that you're in, Matthew. But if this is just putting together the application or the package in the first place, make sure that Config Manager itself has access to the content. Might be at least a simple thing to check off in your troubleshooting. All right. So a question over here on YouTube on startup scripts for Config Manager. When using a startup script for SCCM client install, does it add a restart delay for devices that already have the client? Asking because using the startup client is often a reason for long startups. Or using the startup script is often a reason for long startups. I mean, often what the startup scripts will do is check to see if the client is installed before it actually does anything.
Are we talking about the startup script for the yeah, it's for the ConfigMgr client, yes.
Yep.
Well, those scripts run fairly quickly, and the only time it's going to take a bit of a long time is if it actually does have to install the client. Otherwise, it just skips it, and it's pretty much instant. I have not seen the ConfigMgr startup script, either the one from Jason Sandys or the one from Anders Rudland, causing long startup times. But you can have other triggers. It's quite common when you set up that scheduled task to trigger at both startup, but also at a given time. But it can be, I mean, there are tons of different triggers you can set on a scheduled task. It doesn't have to be startup. It's just that very convenient to have it there, because when the machine boots up, it will run a system that will have all the permission it needs to do the install. So, no, I would recommend keeping it as a startup script. If it's something taking a really long time, I would suspect something else is in play. You can run a trace with the performance analyzer in Windows to actually make a note of everything that happens in a reboot and basically how long time each of those steps takes. Even the good old Xboot manager that comes with the performance kit still works, can also be configured to log things during a reboot. So you can see exactly what is taking a long time.
All right. Great tip. All right. Dan is asking if we have any thoughts on bulk enrolling existing devices into Intune where we do not have ConfigMgr. The user enroll group policy really doesn't get people there, and they have to be admin.
You can still leverage bulk enrollment provisioning packages even though you don't have ConfigMgr. I wrote a script that you can run in MBT lighted sequence. We call it Autopilot Plan B. Let's go down here. So you create the provisioning package. There is a PowerShell module that can help create it also. But basically, so that is a ConfigMgr one, and this is a MBT one. But basically, in the WinP phase, you can stage an enrollment package. So after reboot, that machine will get enrolled. You don't get all the fancy, bells and whistles that Autopilot gives you with a enrollment status page that install applications and all of that good stuff, but it will enroll the device, and it does it very, very quickly. So if you have a lot of devices to enroll, bulk enrollment is a good option. So maybe that.
All right. We've got somebody else here that has seen the success in the error tab for years, off and on. Usually just ignore it in that case, unless it's huge numbers. So, good.
All right.
Appreciate
Thank you
it.
for that. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Matt's asking if either of us have used Azure Information Protection or Microsoft Information Protection before. Got a request for Microsoft Information Protection plugin for Adobe, but not AIP and MIP, or Azure and Microsoft Information Protection converts to Purview Information Protection. I have not.
No,
I mean, I'm aware of
not.
it, but I haven't rolled it out or anything like that.
Yeah, same here.
All right. A great comment here on some of the store app vulnerabilities that Matt was asking about. These are likely old profiles. The active user will update the apps just fine. Only programmatic solution I've found is detect a vulnerable version, then uninstall for all users. Then for certain apps, have an available assignment on the user and reinstall if needed. Right?
All right, good tip.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And then Jeff had a follow up here. I'm not sure if this was for the store apps or the O365 install. It may also mean that a certain file it's looking for is missing. Right. Yeah, and then Matthew did have another follow up here on the O365 installer. Can't remember what log file I found it in, but found the link where the console was trying to download the file from, and it was trying to download a cab file. When I pasted the link in Edge, I was able to download it just fine. I don't think I've run into that.
No, nothing on my end either.
And I wonder where ConfigMgr would be downloading it from. I guess if you're doing like an update would be one. But normally I'll at least provide how I would install this through ConfigMgr. Normally would just do this with
Shall I share your screen?
no, I don't think I have anything to demo.
Okay.
But thank you for asking. I would normally do this with when you're installing Office. You have the setup executable, obviously, and there's two ways that you can really deploy it in ConfigMgr. One, you can have Office use setup.exe, put that in a file server somewhere for your content, point to a configuration file, and you can have it just download. The client will download all of the content from the Office CDN. The other way to do that is have setup.exe download all of the content ahead of time and package all of that up in the application. I don't like that method anyways, typically, because I just want my clients to go ahead and download all of the content, whatever the latest version of M365 apps is that's out there. But in that case, in either scenario, ConfigMgr is not in control of, or is not in the way of downloading any content from the Office CDN. So I hope I was at least slightly clear without actually being able to show it. But in both scenarios, that's the important part in my view, is we don't want ConfigMgr doing that download from the CDN. At least I don't. Yeah, Matthew, again, could be file permissions, definitely. Oh, and Dan mentioned another idea here too, is the cab file being blocked by Defender. I've had ASR rules block content downloads before. Oh, there you go. Are you thinking that's maybe where it's coming from, Johan?
Could be, because when you use this option here, you have the ability to create a package here, and then you do the configurations, and it will download all the content into something you have here. Yeah, then you go to the customization tool and then do the configuration, and that will create an application with it.
Okay. Yeah, Matthew says that's the way that he is doing it. So I might try basically just doing this manually outside of ConfigMgr and just packaging it like any normal application. I personally do not like this page right here. To me, that you're showing, Johan, it's useful for some very high level reporting, but I do not use this for creating my ADRs or creating the installer or anything. Or if I can find if anyone's blogged just a quick post on that. Oh, there's the instructions to. Yeah, so Matthew, what you might want to do if you go to config.office.com, and now Johan, if you want to share my screen, feel free. Unless you had something you were going to share.
Nope.
Okay.
There we go.
So if you go to config.office.com and you go down here, you can create a new config file. Create your config file from here, and then just use setup.exe that you already have. And this is going to get the content from the Office CDN. I might try this way first. So basically, with this is a nice page. Go through and select all of the options that you want to install. 64-bit, if you do want to add Visio or project, that sort of thing. And then you can essentially just export this. This is going to export a configuration.xml file, and then you can call that with your Office setup.exe installer.
Yeah, you can even create an XML file for download only if you just want to download stuff and then later run the configuration.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right. Yep. Perfect, Matthew. Yeah. Please give that a try, and if that solves your issues, please let us know here in the future. Would appreciate it. Okay. Yeah. Gary's got a couple of additional comments here too. If you want to local peer-to-peer via ConfigMgr's branch cache, you want to use the O365 setup to download the content, similar to what you just mentioned, Johan, and shove that into a package. And that's how he used to manage it. PowerShell scripts to download and update the package content.
Yep.
All right.
I wonder if I have some older versions of it. I used to play around with one of the MDT servers. Maybe, maybe not. And that's what the configuration file. No, that was for the setup. But I did pre-download the content at that time.
Yeah, and for a little inspiration, there was another comment in here. There is this blog post from Matthias Melkerson, which builds upon a blog post from Johan on how to deploy M365 apps. This is putting together a Win32 app for Intune, but the install commands and the uninstall commands and building the content itself is very similar. So technically it's exactly the same. You're just creating the application in Intune versus creating it in ConfigMgr. So I'll share this one as well.
Beautiful.
Thanks for calling that one out here in the chat. All right. Content and deployment. What is more fun than that? Nothing, if you ask us. All right. So Benny's asking, what is the best way to access on-prem resources with cloud-only devices? Hybrid join is giving me a headache. Sometimes it works fine, other time it doesn't. Is Cloud Kerberos Trust the way to go for me? Yes, it is.
Yeah, that's pretty much the setup you want to use.
Exactly. So here's Microsoft's documentation on it. Cloud Trust, as long as your user accounts are synced from on-prem to Entra, which I don't think I've personally run into. They're out there, but every organization I've been involved with, they've got their user objects synced, at least.
Usually do because they read email and
exactly. And so once you follow through these steps, deploy these policies or assign these policies to your endpoints. This is like, for me, when I first configured this, when it was first released a couple of years ago, game changer. Seriously, you basically single sign on, for lack of a better term, to on-prem resources like map drives are one of the most common things that we're dealing with. But anything that is, in theory, anything that's dealing with Kerberos authentication, it's fantastic, and it's super easy to deploy too. Every once in a while we get a question we can just say yes or no to. Awesome. Great stuff today so far, as always.
yeah, we still have a whooping 6 minutes to our disposal.
Yeah.
Any more questions out there or comments? Or both? Matt is asking here, what is your idea about extending the license for Windows 10 after October 2025? It's basically worth paying for that. Some organizations that we talk to, they are in active basically processes right now and trying to put those agreements together because they realize that they have so many devices that either cannot upgrade, the hardware doesn't support it, to Windows 11, or they won't have time to complete those projects before October. So they decided that, all right, we're actually going to pay not for all of our devices, but for some more devices that they will pay for to get those updates. And if you're asking, I think I can speak for Andrew here as well, but if the alternative is continue to run Windows 10 and don't patch it, that will be a big fat no. It's just no, rather pay for the updates so you have at least secure devices. But obviously the long-term goal is to go to Windows 11, and Microsoft has like a built-in incentive and these also, that the first year is cheaper, the second year is expensive, and the third year is like really expensive.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it depends. There's so many scenarios too where so we had a similar question yesterday in one of our courses, and basically the range of cost depending on your scenario is $0 for extended security updates all the way up to $61 at the most. But you have a lot of organizations, to your point, for all of those reasons you just mentioned, Johan, that you do have to do that. So, education, great example. It's very cheap. Yes, the cost does double from year 1 to year 2, and then year 2 to year 3. But in education, that cost starts at $1 per device for the extended updates. So
per year, right?
Per year. And
Yeah.
then year 2 is $2 per device per year, and then $3 per device per year. And this is in a time, I mean, a little step outside of the technical stuff a little bit. This is at a time where, a lot of organizations seriously have some real budget challenges right now. And so I think that we'll see, from my perspective, I think that we'll probably see more ESUs in this Windows 10 to Windows 11 shift than we've seen with some of the old, like Server 2012, for example. That's my theory. But as you mentioned, Johan, I think still based on the tools that we're using, Intune is going to continue adding features that are Windows 11 only. Microsoft is going to add features that are Windows 11 only. Heck, we saw Windows Lapse features that were only Windows 11 24H2. So still the end goal is to get over to Windows 11 as quickly as possible. But 100%, I think you're going to see organizations doing this.
We have Windows Autopilot scenarios that is also only for Windows 11 as well. So it's
yeah, exactly. And yeah, the second part of Matt's question here too. What about Microsoft charging $1.50 per CPU for hot patching for Server 2025?
Yeah, I saw that and I'm like, okay, that was an interesting twist to it. My first thought was like, I'll rather do the reboot. I was like, if I have I'm not sure how they count in those cores, if they're real cores or they're logical cores, but I mean, if I bring up one of my servers here, I can steal the screen, and open up Task Manager, it better not be per core.
No, it is per core per month. I think I'll do the reboot.
So that is, what do you say, 150?
Yeah.
All right, so $50 a month to patch my server, to just not to reboot it monthly. I'll reboot it monthly.
Yeah. Look, I'm sure there are organizations that the reboot will be, or the $50 will be cheaper than the reboot. But man, I'm with you. I'm doing the reboot.
I mean, I can see it if there is a platform that like runs a trading system or something, or that simply cannot be rebooted. But all right.
Yeah. Well, Gary asked a question that I think might be a great one for us to finish off on. What is our favorite session we're going to present at MMS this year? It's a tough one.
I can't say office hours.
Right. Or we could do the cop-out answer. Like, they're all my favorite, which is true. I am looking forward to every one of these sessions.
Well, there is one session that I'm, and to Gary's point, it's a good one. We have been talking about it like a gazillion times here on Office Hours. But it's a session that he does with Mr. Mike Terrell. Forgot which day it was, but this one here.
Navigating 107 reboots.
No, it's only 8. That was.
Oh, sorry. I was being dramatic. No, I agree. I bet that's going to be one of those amazing, very practical, something you can implement quickly, brain-hurting sessions.
Yeah, but it's basically around the whole Black Lotus, whatever. So maybe this one.
It's awesome.
All right. Heck, and we're up on time. Beautiful.
Yes, we are.
We did it. Yay. Everyone, thank you so much for joining. Thank you for commenting, asking questions, being part of this. We definitely hope to see you next week when we do it live from Minneapolis. Final reminder, we will run it at 5 p.m. rather than 4:30. But other than that, it will be pretty much business as usual. So, all right. Thank you all.
Thank you, Johan. Thank you, everybody, for joining.